All right, so let me ask you a strange question. Have you ever had something that was working, but it was just kind of old, and you said, you know what, I'm going to replace it with just a newer version and update it, and you're like, holy cow, man, that works so much better. Well, that's what I'm talking to you about today. I'm going to show you my sort of quick method, 5 minutes, how to replace these rotors, these sprinkler heads. But also, one thing I notice is on these sprinkler heads, if you have ones that are several years old, there's something just happens to them, the performance of them. Maybe it's the newer version of the sprinkler heads, I don't know. But man, if you have older rotors and sprinkler heads, try replacing them and you're going to be shocked. I'm telling you, the difference in the performance from 5, 6, 7 years ago to today is amazing. So that's what I'll do today. I'll show you how to replace them. Also, hit subscribe because we're getting ready to do a full aerate on our lawn. We're going to apply the Dirt Booster organic material. We're going to apply some human char. We're going to be reseeding the green. We're going to be reseeding the fairway project. I got 25 videos coming out. Don't want to miss them. So let's go replace these heads. Okay, so before we begin real quick, let me just talk about the heads. You can use Rainbird or you can use Hunter, either one. The debate goes on. But this is a 3/4 inch receiver. It's a threaded 3/4 inch receiver. Some of your heads, especially your pop-up heads, have 1/2 inch. It just depends really on your system and how they installed it. So that's the only thing you need to make sure. The majority of these larger heads like this are going to have a 3/4 inch hole at the bottom. Next, there's a little intake. It's a little L usually down here, and there's a threaded part that goes into what they call funny pipe or flex pipe. So all this does is this screws on top. Today what I'm talking about is I'm talking about a method, especially if you have clay soils, that you can just compress the soil down to about here and just turn this and pull it out through the soil versus, and if you can't do that, then you have to dig all the way around this piece to expose the pipe. And that's just a note. So I'm doing it the quick way. The other note is if you have sprinkler heads that are in high zones and then sprinkler heads that are down in low zones, if you go to your lowest zone sprinkler head and you unscrew this, you're probably going to get some water come up, just to let you know. So you may have to do a deeper dig. But I have done this where I've had water come up and just gone back and screwed it on. Now let's talk real quick about the top. So the majority of these on the top have an arrow setting right here. So this arrow setting, there's an arrow pointed somewhere, and that's where the spray comes out. Now they all rotate, of course. These things all rotate. Now on a Rainbird, as you go counterclockwise, you hear click, go counterclockwise to the left side. So that's going to be your fixed position. So the fixed position is going to be here. You cannot adjust that. The only way to adjust that is to turn the rotor. On the right side, that little hole here, the plus and minus, that's what's going to, you stick your tool in there and that's what adjusts the right side adjustment. On the Hunter, it's opposite. This little hole on all your sprinkler heads is the little bolt that screws down, and instead of having a solid stream, makes it more misty. That's my term. So the more you screw that down, the shorter the path and the more mist you're going to get. So you control the distance. So that's basically the explanation of the sprinkler heads. Again, when I go to tighten this, when I put it, I don't know why, but if this is my fixed position, so I take the sprinkler head, go to the right, click, go back to the left side. When I put it in the ground, I don't know why, I found that if I just put it, just sort of line it up, put it in and turn it, it kind of ends up there when it starts to get kind of tight. But then you have to adjust this whole part on the left side on the fixed position, and then you can adjust the right. If you have to adjust a head that's buried, you can just dig it up a little bit and you can sort of turn it, hopefully. If you don't turn it, then you have to take this top off, pull the rotor out, find the fixed position, and drop it in the fixed position. What else? I think that's about it, but I just want to make sure you understand that today I'm doing this quick method, which is really easy. It's super simple. Now, on the video, I do talk about too the position of up and down. And since it's a flex pipe, if you ever want to change the position this way of your head, just dig all the way around your sprinkler head, expose some of that pipe, and then lift so the pipe is connected, that plastic funny pipe. So if your head is like this, dig it all up, and then so bring your pipe and the head up like this, and then you can actually the up and down part of it, how it's going to shoot. I need to do that on one of my heads out front. So I'll just go and show you what I did yesterday. Start with, and I'm just going to open the hole up just a little bit, not too deep. Don't want to puncture my line. Don't want my butt in the camera shot either. So, how deep do you dig? Well, most of your full-size rotors are that deep, so you know I took my shovel down that deep because there's a little plug that screws in here with a plastic line. So let me get my little trowel, and it always helps to do this before you run your sprinklers because now I'll probably have a muddy mess. So I'm just going to take my sod out. Put it aside, and then I'm just going to dig down and then figure out your arrow is where it's spraying fixed. So here's my arrow, and my arrow's pointing this way, and I want my fixed edge to go here, so I need it to end up pointing that way. So I understand that. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to unscrew this now. I can get the whole body to unscrew. Make sure it's a 3/4 inch. Now I can feel it starting to get tight. So once I feel it starting to get tight, I'm going to line up this edge. That's my fixed position right there. So now I'm all set. So now just put this back in. Pretty simple, huh? So on the Rainbird, the left side, when you go and you go counterclockwise, your left edge is going to be fixed, and then your right edge is adjustable. On the Hunter, it's the opposite. The right edge is fixed and the left edge is adjustable. So I'm actually going to leave that. It's a little bit of a depression because I took some dirt out, and I'm okay with that. It's no big deal. Now I'm going to fire it up and I'm going to adjust it. This system is Ratio actually, and it's actually the backyard. This is zone number 4. Next, and I'll put it for 8 minutes. Run. There we go. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my little tool here and adjust it. My left edge is fixed, so I know it's right. If I needed to adjust the left edge, I would just turn the whole rotor base a little bit back and forth. When it comes to my right edge, I need to adjust it with the tool. And wouldn't you know, I don't need to adjust it. So these things can basically go 360. But when you want less, there's a little plus and minus sign on the top of it. You just stick it in and plus or minus the turn. Now I don't want this. This is a windy day, but I don't want it shooting that far because I have more sprinklers down further. So instead of shooting in a fine line, I'm going to drive that screw down and make it more misty. So you can see on the very front there's a screw, and it breaks up that water spray and it doesn't shoot as far and it becomes more of a misting pattern. Because I only want this head to go about 2/3 of the way down because I have more heads down over there. Matter of fact, I could probably even go a little less, but I may just leave it. So here's a funny note. I was so impressed with this new head compared to the old head. I'm going to replace this one as well. This is such an important area back here for my yard that I want to make sure that I got a good head on there. And that's an old head. Fancy way again. Up here. Up that far down. Here. Far down. Sorry about the butt. Don't stare at my butt. Here. I have pulled out my sod, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to clay sculpt and make sure there's no loose dirt. Well, once I do that, this one's stuck. I couldn't grab it, so I just took the top off. Yeah, make sure there's no little pieces around the edge. Okay, so she's ready to come off. Nice and slow. Left is fixed, and that's where I want it to end up. Right about there is good. That's close. So now I can just get my tool. Alright, so on the Rainbird, the left edge is fixed. Arrow's pointing this way. Come back around. And it's going to go right here, but I want it to come over more. So I'm going to go all the way back to my left, and I'm going to turn this to the plus side. About half a turn. And now it's definitely, maybe just a little bit less. Tiny bit less. That should be perfect. And then I know for a fact on new ones, you got to wind this thing way down. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Not bad. Now if I want to adjust my fixed side, I left a little leeway and I just turn the whole unit. That's where I want that to be. Back just a little bit.
Perfect. Absolutely.
So it really pays off. I'm telling you, if you have had sprinkler heads out here for several years and they may be working, it really pays off to replace them. You'll be shocked at the quality of water difference just from age, from buildup, calcification, just and the newer heads, they perform so much better. That just looks fantastic. So the past week, once a day I'll go out and I'll run a zone, and I'll look at it and I'll really sort of measure it and make sure that I'm getting good overlap. That's something that I do. You should do once a year at least. Make sure that your heads are set right and working right. Now let's say you want to shut off a sprinkler head. I've got an ugly area way back here in the corner, and we actually have a couple heads back here, and we actually had too many heads. So I wanted to shut off 2 of the heads. Well, all you need to do is buy a couple of these. Now this is a 3/4. This is a 3/4 threaded female PVC cap. They're like, what, 30 cents a piece. All you have to do is dig down, expose that funny pipe that's down there, and then you can close it off. And let me see if I can find one that's closed off. So this area had a head in it, and you can see I just have a 3/4. I still have to bury it, but that has a closed off. That just has one of these on top of it. So that's up against the fence back in this woods area, and it actually shoots towards the green. And we had like 5 heads all around here, and it was, number one, it was too many heads for the amount of GPH and pressure. So I took one of the heads off, and then I moved one around. So if you ever want to shut off a head, you can just get these caps, dig it up, and screw that on, and it shuts it off. I hope this video helped you guys. Again, Hunter versus Rainbird, they're both about the same quality-wise these days. But check your heads. Again, I think time wears down on these heads. You start to get a lot of dirt. You start to get a lot of calcification or that buildup on the pipes. It's just the new heads perform so much nicer. Hit subscribe. Talk to you later. Doc.